Modern neuroscience has confirmed what ancient wisdom traditions intuited, that our brain's two hemispheres process reality in fundamentally different ways. The left hemisphere excels at analytical thinking, language, linear logic, and sequential processing. It breaks wholes into parts, categorizes experience, and creates the narrative of a separate self moving through time. The right hemisphere, by contrast, perceives holistically, recognizes patterns, processes emotion and nonverbal communication, and experiences reality as an interconnected whole. In ordinary waking consciousness, these two modes of perception operate with a degree of separation. The dominant hemisphere, typically the left in most people, often overrides the insights and awareness of the other. This creates what psychologists call the divided brain, a partial, fragmented perception of reality that misses the complete picture. Dr. Ian McGilchrist, in his groundbreaking work, The Master and His Emissary, describes this hemispheric division as perhaps the fundamental structure determining our relationship with the world. The left hemisphere's dominance in modern culture has led to what he calls the Hall of Mirrors, where we mistake our abstract models of reality for reality itself, disconnected from the right hemisphere's direct, embodied knowing of the world. The gateway process addresses this division through Hemi-Sync technology, a method that uses audio frequencies to create what scientists call the frequency following response, FFR. When your ears receive slightly different sound frequencies in each ear, for example, 200 hertz in one ear and 206 hertz in the other, your brain doesn't perceive two separate tones. Instead, it creates a third phantom frequency, in this case, a 6 hertz binaural beat. This beat entrains your brain waves to match its frequency, guiding you into specific states of consciousness. EEG studies conducted on participants using Hemi-Sync technology show measurable changes in brainwave patterns. Typically, the brain shifts from beta waves, 13 to 30 hertz, associated with normal waking consciousness, to alpha waves, 8 to 13 hertz, associated with relaxed awareness, and sometimes theta waves, 4 to 8 hertz, associated with deep meditation and hypnagogic states. What's remarkable is not just the shift in frequency, but the coherence between hemispheres. Regions of the brain that typically operate independently begin functioning in synchrony. What makes this approach revolutionary is that it doesn't require years of meditation practice or special abilities. The brain naturally responds to these audio cues, allowing even beginners to experience states that might otherwise take decades to master. As Dr. Stuart Twemlow noted in his research, Hemi-Sync creates a state of consciousness that facilitates the expansion of awareness beyond the physical universe. Think about your own experience for a moment. Have you noticed how differently you perceive reality when you're deeply analytical versus when you're creatively inspired? How logic and intuition seem to speak different languages? These aren't just subjective feelings, but reflect actual differences in how your brain hemispheres process information. Now imagine those two modes of perception not competing, but cooperating. The analytical precision of your left hemisphere married to the holistic awareness of your right. This is what brain hemisphere synchronization offers, a unified field of perception where the boundaries between subject and object, self and other, begin to dissolve. The ancient esoteric teaching that the middle path leads to wisdom takes on new meaning in this context. The middle path isn't about compromise, but integration, the harmonious functioning of complementary aspects of consciousness. When Jesus spoke of the eye becoming single and the body filled with light, or when Buddha described the middle way, they may have been pointing to the same unified state of awareness that transcends ordinary dualistic perception. This hemispheric synchronization isn't just a neurological curiosity. It creates the foundation for experiencing non-ordinary states of consciousness, what the gateway process identifies as Focus 10, Focus 12, and beyond. Each of these states represents a distinct level of awareness with its own characteristics and possibilities for exploration and growth. The gateway process doesn't merely theorize about expanded states of consciousness. It provides a systematic pathway for experiencing them directly. This journey begins with foundational techniques that prepare your mind and energy system for deeper exploration. The energy conversion box represents the first practical tool, a mental construct where you can place distractions, worries, and mental chatter, freeing your attention for focused awareness. This isn't mere visualization, but an active process of energy management. By symbolically containing what doesn't serve your exploration, you create space for new experience. Robert Monroe, founder of the Monroe Institute, discovered this technique through his own out-of-body experiences. He observed that emotional and mental energy, when unaddressed, creates resistance to expanded states. Rather than suppressing these energies, which only increases their power, the energy conversion box acknowledges them while preventing them from dominating awareness. Participants report that this simple technique often produces immediate relief from anxiety and mental overload, creating what one gateway participant called a clean slate for consciousness. Consider how often your awareness is fragmented by competing thoughts, emotions, and sensations. The energy conversion box offers a practical solution, not suppressing these elements, but acknowledging and temporarily setting them aside. This isn't avoidance, but skillful attention management, creating the conditions for deeper states to emerge. The process continues with resonant tuning, using your voice to align your energy system. When you produce specific tones while focusing on different areas of your body, you create vibrational resonance that harmonizes your physical and energy systems. This isn't abstract theory, but practical application of the principle that everything vibrates, including your consciousness. Scientists at the HeartMath Institute have documented how coherent sounds and focused attention can synchronize various oscillatory systems in the body, from brain waves to heart rate variability to electromagnetic fields generated by organs. The specific tones used in resonant tuning, typically ooh, oh, and ah sounds, create vibrational patterns that resonate throughout the body's tissues and energy fields, creating what researchers call psychophysiological coherence, a state of optimal functioning where various systems operate in harmony. Have you noticed how certain sounds can instantly shift your state? How a piece of music can transport you emotionally in seconds? This is the power of resonance, when external vibrations influence internal states. Resonant tuning harnesses this principle deliberately, using your own voice to create coherence throughout your system. With these foundations in place, the gateway process introduces the energy balloon, a technique for extending your awareness beyond your physical boundaries. By visualizing and feeling an energetic field surrounding your body, you begin to experience consciousness as not confined to your physical form. This prepares you for the more profound states that follow. Dr. Valerie Hunt's research at UCLA demonstrated that the electromagnetic field around the human body changes measurably during altered states of consciousness. What mystics have traditionally called the aura, or energy field, appears to have physical correlates that respond to conscious attention. The energy balloon technique works with this field, strengthening and expanding it through directed awareness. Focus 10, the first major milestone, represents a state where your body sleeps while your mind remains awake and alert. Unlike ordinary relaxation, where mental alertness diminishes as physical relaxation increases, Focus 10 maintains full mental clarity while the body enters complete relaxation. In this state, awareness becomes more fluid, less identified with physical sensation. Gateway participants describe Focus 10 as a state of floating awareness where physical discomfort disappears, but mental acuity remains sharp or even heightens. EEG measurements during Focus 10 typically show increased alpha and theta activity while maintaining frontal lobe activation, a pattern distinct from both ordinary wakefulness and sleep. This state creates what neuroscientists call high alpha coherence, synchronized brain activity that correlates with enhanced learning, creativity, and perception. As you progress to Focus 12, your awareness expands further into what might be called expanded awareness. Here, intuitive insights flow more readily, creativity flourishes, and access to information beyond ordinary perception becomes possible. This isn't mystical speculation, but a repeatable, verifiable state documented by thousands of Gateway participants. A musician in the Gateway program reported solving a compositional problem that had stumped him for months during his first Focus 12 experience. A scientist described receiving the solution to a complex experimental design that later proved successful. A therapist found insight into a client's underlying issues that hadn't emerged through conventional methods. These aren't random occurrences, but consistent patterns that suggest Focus 12 provides access to information beyond ordinary conscious awareness. The more advanced states, Focus 15, no time, and Focus 21, other energy systems, represent profound expansions of consciousness where the ordinary boundaries of time and space begin to dissolve. Focus 15 allows exploration beyond temporal constraints, while Focus 21 facilitates interaction with realities and intelligence beyond the physical. These aren't imaginary states or mere suggestions. The consistent reports across thousands of diverse participants, combined with measurable changes in brainwave patterns, suggest something profound is being accessed. As consciousness researcher Melissa Yeager noted, these states allow access to dimensions of knowledge that are not available in everyday physical reality. The progression through these states isn't linear, but spiral. Each return to a familiar state is experienced with greater depth and clarity. This mirrors the ancient wisdom that spiritual development isn't about reaching new heights, but recognizing what has always been present, with increasing subtlety and comprehension. What does it mean to transcend the limitations of space and time? The Gateway process offers not just philosophical speculation, but experiential exploration of this profound question. The key insight comes from understanding consciousness as more fundamental than the physical universe, not produced by matter, but the ground from which matter emerges. Physicist David Bohm proposed a model of reality consisting of the explicate order, the physical universe we perceive, and the implicate order, a deeper reality in which everything is interconnected beyond space and time. The Gateway process appears to provide experiential access to this implicate order, what participants often describe as a dimension where separation dissolves and direct knowing becomes possible. Modern physics has already challenged our conventional understanding of reality. At the quantum level, particles exhibit behaviors that defy classical physics, appearing in multiple locations simultaneously, responding to observation, and demonstrating non-local connections that appear to transcend space and time. These aren't fringe theories, but established science that points to a universe far stranger and more consciousness responsive than we once believed. Physicist John Wheeler famously proposed that consciousness itself might be fundamental to the universe's existence, coining the phrase participatory universe to describe how the act of observation appears to influence quantum events. This radical reconceptualization of physics aligns remarkably well with what Gateway participants report, that consciousness can interact with reality in ways that transcend conventional understanding of causality and location. The Gateway process draws connections between these quantum insights and explorations of consciousness. When participants reach Focus 15, the state beyond time, they report experiences that parallel theoretical physics concepts like tachyons, particles that move backward in time, and non-locality, instantaneous connections regardless of distance. One Gateway participant, a surgeon with no background in advanced physics, described experiencing a dimension where all moments exist simultaneously during Focus 15. When later exposed to physics theories about the block universe, where past, present, and future all exist as a single block of space-time, he remarked that this matched his direct experience precisely. This pattern, where experiences in altered states anticipate or parallel advanced scientific concepts, occurs frequently enough to suggest these states may provide genuine insight into the nature of reality. Consider for a moment what Planck's distance represents, the smallest measurable unit of space, below which our conventional understanding of physics breaks down. Similarly, there appears to be a Planck's time, the smallest unit of measurable time. The gateway process suggests that consciousness can click out of these conventional constraints, accessing a domain where time and space as we know them no longer apply. This isn't merely theoretical. Gateway participants consistently report experiences of remote viewing, accurately perceiving distant locations without physical sensory input. They describe out-of-body experiences where consciousness appears to separate from physical form. They access information that would be impossible to obtain through ordinary means. In one documented case, a gateway participant accurately described details of a classified military facility he had never visited. In another, a participant reported specific technical information about a friend's medical condition that was later confirmed through testing, despite having no medical training or prior knowledge of the condition. While anecdotal, the volume and consistency of such reports across diverse participants suggests something beyond coincidence or suggestion. What makes these experiences particularly significant is that they occur not just with spiritual adepts or naturally gifted individuals, but with ordinary people using specific, repeatable techniques. The implications are profound, suggesting that these abilities represent natural human capacity rather than supernatural anomalies. The concept of the cosmic egg, a holographic energy field that contains all information, parallels what mystics have described as the Akashic records or the universal mind. Gateway participants report accessing this field, retrieving specific knowledge that can later be verified in physical reality. These experiences challenge our fundamental assumptions about reality. What if consciousness isn't produced by the brain but channeled through it? What if the physical universe isn't the primary reality, but a manifestation of something more fundamental? What if you are not merely a physical being having occasional spiritual experiences, but a consciousness that has temporarily localized in physical form? The emerging field of post-materialist science proposes exactly this, that consciousness is fundamental rather than derivative, primary rather than secondary. Researchers like Dr. Bernardo Kastrup argue that physical reality may be better understood as a manifestation of consciousness rather than consciousness as a product of physical processes. The gateway experiences provide experiential support for this theoretical framework. The out-of-body experience, OBE, represents perhaps the most dramatic challenge to conventional materialism. When thousands of individuals, many initially skeptical, report consistent experiences of consciousness operating independently of their physical bodies, we must at least consider the possibility that our understanding of consciousness is incomplete. Near-death experience researchers like Dr. Sam Parnia at NYU Langone Health have documented cases where patients accurately reported events occurring during cardiac arrest when their brains showed no measurable activity. Similarly, gateway participants report verifiable perceptions obtained during states where their awareness appeared to operate independently of their physical senses. These consistent patterns suggest that consciousness may not be as bound to the brain as conventional science has assumed. These aren't claims to be accepted on faith, but invitations to direct investigation. The gateway process provides tools for personal exploration, allowing you to test these possibilities through your own experience rather than accepting or rejecting them based on existing beliefs. If consciousness can transcend individual boundaries, accessing information non-locally, and operating beyond physical constraints, what are the implications? The gateway process suggests something revolutionary, that individual consciousness may be connected to a universal field that contains all information and possibilities. Physicist Ervin Laszlo calls this the Akashic field, a fundamental information field that connects all things and stores all events. Similarly, Carl Jung proposed the collective unconscious, a shared reservoir of experience accessible to all humans. The gateway process provides a methodology for directly experiencing what these theories describe conceptually. This concept has been expressed in various ways across cultures and times: the Akashic records, the collective unconscious, universal mind, or simply source. What's remarkable is not just the philosophical elegance of this idea, but the practical applications that emerge from it. Military and intelligence organizations didn't investigate these phenomena out of spiritual curiosity, but pragmatic interest. Remote viewing, the ability to perceive distant locations and events, proved reliable enough to warrant serious attention and funding. Problem-solving techniques using Focus 12 demonstrated practical results in addressing complex challenges. Healing applications showed measurable effects on physical conditions. The CIA's interest in the gateway process wasn't driven by metaphysical speculation, but by practical applications in intelligence gathering. Similarly, the Monroe Institute has documented cases where participants accessed specific information that later proved accurate, from technical details to creative solutions to personal insights that transform their understanding of complex situations. One gateway participant, an engineer facing an intractable design problem, reported receiving a complete solution during a Focus 12 session, including technical specifications he had no prior knowledge of. When implemented, the solution worked perfectly. Another participant accurately described the layout and contents of a location thousands of miles away, details later verified through photography. These aren't supernatural claims, but suggest an expanded understanding of how consciousness can access information. Consider your own moments of unexpected knowing, intuitive flashes, déjà vu experiences, or inexplicable connections with distant loved ones. What if these aren't anomalies or coincidences, but glimpses of your natural connection to a broader field of consciousness? What if your sense of separation is not the fundamental reality, but a perceptual limitation that can be transcended? Research in intuitive medicine provides compelling evidence for non-local awareness. Dr. Norman Don's studies at the University of Chicago demonstrated that the human nervous system often responds to future stimuli seconds before they occur, what he called presentiment. Similarly, the HeartMath Institute has documented cases where the heart responds to emotional stimuli before they're consciously perceived or even presented. These findings suggest that our awareness may operate beyond conventional temporal constraints. The gateway process techniques for manifestation and intention setting aren't based on magical thinking, but on the understanding that consciousness and energy are intimately connected. When you enter coherent states where brain hemispheres synchronize and mind becomes clear, your intentions appear to interact with reality in ways that conventional models struggle to explain. Participants report consistent experiences of meaningful synchronicities, accelerated healing, creative breakthroughs, and access to information that later proves accurate. These outcomes suggest not that the laws of physics are being violated, but that our understanding of those laws may be incomplete, particularly regarding the role of consciousness in physical reality. Dr. William Tiller, professor emeritus at Stanford University, conducted experiments demonstrating that focused human intention can measurably alter physical properties of materials. Similarly, the Princeton Engineering Anomalies Research PEER program documented statistically significant effects of human consciousness on random event generators over thousands of trials. These studies suggest that the boundary between mind and matter may be more permeable than conventional science has recognized. This understanding bridges ancient wisdom and cutting-edge science. When quantum physicists speak of the observer effect and non-locality, when ancient traditions describe universal mind and the illusion of separation, they may be approaching the same truth from different angles. The gateway process offers a methodology for exploring this convergence directly. The ethical implications are profound. If consciousness is fundamentally connected rather than separate, every thought and intention ripples through the broader field. This doesn't mean controlling others' experiences, but recognizing our participation in the collective consciousness. As one CIA analyst noted in reviewing the gateway process, the individual's conscious awareness affects physical reality and physical matter through deliberate thought energy. This isn't about wielding power over reality, but recognizing our creative participation within it. It's not about escaping physical existence, but understanding its relationship to consciousness more completely. The field of all possibilities isn't somewhere else. It's the ground of being from which your current experience emerges. Understanding these concepts intellectually differs profoundly from embodying them experientially. The true value of the gateway process lies not in fascinating theories, but in practical application, how these expanded states of consciousness can transform your everyday experience. The Monroe Institute's follow-up research with participants reveals consistent patterns of integration, ways that extraordinary experiences translate into ordinary life improvements. These range from enhanced creativity and problem-solving abilities to more harmonious relationships to improve physical and emotional well-being. The key factor appears to be not the intensity of the experiences, but how effectively they're integrated into daily awareness and practices. The research suggests specific approaches for integrating these insights. First, practice brain hemisphere synchronization in your daily life. Even without specialized audio technology, you can cultivate greater hemispheric balance through practices that engage both analytical and intuitive faculties. Creative problem solving, contemplative movement, non-dominant hand exercises, and cross-lateral physical activities all promote greater integration between brain hemispheres. Dr. Jill Bolte-Taylor, a neuroanatomist who experienced a profound hemispheric shift during a stroke, recommends simple practices like using your non-dominant hand for routine tasks, combining verbal and spatial activities, or consciously shifting attention between analytical and holistic perception. These exercises strengthen the corpus callosum, the bridge between hemispheres, creating greater neural integration. When facing challenges, experiment with the energy conversion box technique. Rather than becoming entangled in emotional reactions or racing thoughts, visualize placing these elements in your mental container temporarily. This creates space for clearer perception and intuitive insights to emerge. You're not suppressing or denying these aspects, but managing energy more effectively. One Gateway participant, an executive facing a high-pressure negotiation, reported using the energy conversion box to set aside his anxiety and defensiveness before the meeting. The result was not just reduced stress, but access to creative solutions that benefited all parties. Solutions that hadn't been apparent when operating from a reactive state. Regular resonant tuning, even for brief periods, can significantly shift your state. Experiment with using your voice to create vibrations that you can feel throughout your body. Notice how different tones affect different areas and how your overall state changes through this practice. This isn't esoteric magic, but practical energy management through sound vibration. Research in sound healing demonstrates that vocalization creates multiple effects, from altering brainwave patterns to influencing the vagus nerve, which regulates many bodily functions, to changing the electromagnetic field around the body. The specific tones used in resonant tuning appear to create coherence across these systems, producing what one researcher described as a reset of the body's oscillatory systems. The insights from Focus 12 exploration can be applied to creative projects and problem solving. Before addressing complex challenges, take time to enter a relaxed, expanded state where both analytical and intuitive faculties are engaged. From this state, solutions often emerge that wouldn't be accessible through purely logical approaches. A software designer in the Gateway program developed a practice of entering Focus 12 before tackling difficult coding problems. He reported not only more elegant solutions, but significant time savings. What might have taken days of trial and error often resolved in a single session following this approach. Similarly, a writer found that creative blocks disappeared when she approached her work after a brief Focus 12 session. For healing applications, the energy balloon technique offers practical benefits. By extending your awareness beyond physical boundaries and visualizing healing energy circulating through this expanded field, you engage innate healing capacities that conventional approaches might overlook. This doesn't replace medical care, but complements it by engaging consciousness in the healing process. Dr. Ann Wigmore's research on visualization and healing suggests that techniques like the energy balloon may influence the body through multiple pathways, from direct effects on the autonomic nervous system to epigenetic changes in gene expression to enhanced immune function. While the mechanisms aren't fully understood, the documented effects include reduced inflammation, accelerated tissue repair, and improved outcomes across various health conditions. The gateway process also offers valuable insights for relationships. When you recognize consciousness as a shared field rather than isolated to individual brains, communication takes on new dimensions. Practicing heightened awareness during interactions reveals subtle cues, unspoken needs, and deeper connections that might otherwise be missed. One couple who participated in gateway training together reported a profound shift in their communication patterns. Rather than focusing on verbal exchanges alone, they developed awareness of the energetic dimension of their interactions, noticing when connection was strong or tenuous, when defenses were present, when deeper currents were flowing beneath surface disagreements. This awareness didn't eliminate conflicts, but transformed how they navigated them, from power struggles to collaborative exploration. These applications aren't about escaping ordinary reality, but enriching it, bringing the insights and abilities from expanded states into everyday experience. The goal isn't to live permanently in altered states, but to allow those experiences to transform your perception of normal waking consciousness. The ethical considerations are significant. As you develop greater access to expanded awareness, responsibility grows accordingly. The research emphasizes approaching these practices with clear intention, respect for others' autonomy, and commitment to positive outcomes. This isn't fear-based restriction, but recognition of consciousness as influential and interconnected. The Monroe Institute's Code of Ethics emphasizes 3 principles for working with expanded states: harm none, respect free will, and recognize that with increased awareness comes increased responsibility. These guidelines parallel ancient wisdom traditions that understood the ethical dimensions of consciousness work. That as perception expands, so does the impact of our choices. Perhaps most importantly, these practices invite ongoing investigation rather than rigid belief. The gateway process doesn't ask you to accept its premises on faith, but to explore them experientially, to test them through direct perception and evaluate the results in your own life. This empirical approach honors both scientific rigor and personal experience. I invite you to begin with simple experimentation. Notice the different qualities of awareness associated with your brain's hemispheres, the analytical precision of the left, the holistic intuition of the right. Practice shifting between these modes consciously, then explore their integration. Even this basic practice can reveal insights about the nature of your perception and its limitations. Remember that this journey isn't about achieving special states or spiritual credentials. It's about recognizing what you already are. Consciousness itself, temporarily localized in human form, but fundamentally connected to the whole. The expanded awareness isn't something to attain, but something to recognize as your natural state, beneath the conditioning and perceptual habits that create the illusion of separation. The research into the gateway process continues to evolve, with thousands of individuals around the world exploring these techniques and reporting their experiences. What began as classified research has become available for broader exploration, inviting each person to investigate the nature of consciousness directly rather than accepting predetermined conclusions. The gateway process doesn't represent an endpoint, but a beginning, a doorway opening into ever-expanding territories of consciousness exploration. As participants progress through the initial stages, many report that the journey continues to unfold in unexpected and profound ways, revealing dimensions of awareness that transcend even the advanced focus states. One of the most significant developments beyond the initial gateway experience is what researchers call state stability, the ability to maintain expanded awareness across changing conditions. While early experiences often occur in controlled settings with specific audio guidance, advanced practitioners report accessing these states spontaneously in everyday life, while working, interacting with others, or even during physical activity. This integration represents a profound shift from altered states to altered traits, from temporary experiences to enduring changes in perception and functioning. Neuroplasticity research suggests that repeated experiences create lasting neural pathways, eventually transforming extraordinary awareness into ordinary capacity. What begins as a special state gradually becomes a baseline mode of perception. The applications continue to expand across diverse fields. Healthcare practitioners trained in gateway techniques report enhanced diagnostic abilities, perceiving subtle energetic imbalances before they manifest as physical symptoms. Business leaders describe improved decision-making through accessing expanded awareness. Artists and scientists alike report creative breakthroughs when operating from synchronized brain states. Research at the University of Virginia's Division of Perceptual Studies suggests that consciousness exploration may have implications beyond individual development, potentially offering insights into fundamental questions about the nature of mind and its relationship to physical reality. Their investigations into children who remember previous lives, near-death experiences, and other anomalous phenomena parallel many gateway participants' experiences, suggesting common underlying mechanisms. Perhaps most profound are the philosophical implications. If consciousness can transcend the limitations of individual brain function, accessing information non-locally and operating beyond spatial temporal constraints, what does this suggest about human potential? What if the boundaries we perceive as fundamental are actually perceptual limitations rather than objective reality? The gateway process invites each explorer to consider these questions not through abstract speculation, but direct experience. The journey becomes increasingly personal as you progress, less about following established protocols and more about discovering your unique relationship with consciousness itself. Advanced practitioners often develop individualized approaches that reflect their specific strengths and purposes. This personalization doesn't diminish the universality of the underlying principles. Rather, it demonstrates that expanded consciousness expresses through individual forms without being limited by them, like light passing through different colored windows, taking on unique hues while remaining essentially light. As you continue your exploration, remember that the gateway remains open in both directions, allowing expanded states to inform everyday awareness while bringing grounded presence into non-ordinary perception. The integration of these seemingly opposite modes creates what ancient traditions called living in two worlds simultaneously, fully engaged with physical reality while maintaining connection with broader dimensions of consciousness. The invitation stands before you, not to believe but to explore, not to accept on authority but to test through experience. The doorway to expanded awareness isn't in some distant realm, but in the very structure of your consciousness, waiting to be recognized. The journey begins not with extraordinary abilities, but with the simple willingness to question your assumptions about the nature of reality and your place within it. As you integrate these insights and practices, you may discover that the gateway to infinite consciousness has never been elsewhere. It has always been right here, in this moment, in the awareness that is reading these words right now. The journey outward eventually reveals itself as a journey inward, to the source of all experience, your own boundless awareness. Have you ever wondered what lies beyond the boundaries of your ordinary awareness? What if the limits you experience daily, time, space, physical form, are not fundamental restrictions, but simply the result of how your brain organizes perception? What if accessing extraordinary states of consciousness isn't the domain of mystics alone, but a natural ability we all possess, waiting to be unlocked through specific techniques? Throughout human history, people have reported profound experiences of expanded awareness, moments when the veil between ordinary reality and something much vaster seems to thin. These experiences have been described using various terminologies across cultures: enlightenment, samadhi, cosmic consciousness, or simply awakening. For centuries, these states were approached primarily through spiritual practices, meditation, or sometimes spontaneous occurrences. But what if there was a systematic, scientifically based approach to accessing these extraordinary states? This is the question that led researchers at the Monroe Institute to develop what became known as the gateway process, a methodology so intriguing that even the CIA invested significant resources in understanding it. This wasn't fringe science relegated to obscure corners of academia. This was serious inquiry into the nature of consciousness itself, conducted with the rigor and resources of major institutions. In a declassified CIA document from 1983, analyst Wayne McDonnell concluded that the gateway process was plausible in terms of modern physics, and that it could succeed in expanding human consciousness to allow access to dimensions, energies, and information beyond the four dimensions of ordinary space-time reality. This wasn't speculative mysticism, but an assessment based on quantum physics, neurological research, and thousands of documented experiences. The gateway process isn't just another meditation technique or visualization exercise. It represents a carefully crafted synthesis of ancient wisdom and modern neuroscience, a bridge between the subjective realm of consciousness and the objective world of measurable brainwave patterns. At its core lies a profound truth. Your brain's hemispheres, when functioning in synchronized harmony, rather than their usual separation, can access states of awareness that transcend ordinary reality. Close your eyes for a moment and become aware of your thoughts. Notice how your mind typically operates, analyzing, categorizing, labeling experience through language. This is primarily your left hemisphere at work, the logical, sequential processor that helps you navigate the practical world. But there's another mode of awareness available to you, intuitive, holistic, beyond words, the domain of your right hemisphere. The gateway process invites you to experience both simultaneously, creating a unified field of awareness that opens doorways to extraordinary perception. This journey isn't about escaping reality, but expanding your understanding of what reality actually is. It's not about rejecting scientific materialism in favor of mystical beliefs, but transcending the artificial boundary between science and spirituality. The true nature of consciousness may be far more vast, far more fundamental to the universe than our conventional thinking has allowed.